joyful hello to all of you. My name is Minnku Buttar, founder of the Circle of Joy that brings you self-mastery programs and retreats. It gives me great joy to bring to you this season's talk show, a series of interviews on choosing joy, secrets, and stories from all over the world. It is my diligent attempt to show you that joy is not a hockey-pocky, frivolous concept, but a discipline, a way of life much needed if you want to be resilient, radiant, and unstoppable like a runaway train. So subscribe to my channel so that you can tap into the wisdom of people from all over the world. I will see you there. Hello and namaste. My name is Minnku Buttar, your host from India. Now, I'm delighted to welcome you all back to the first episode of the year 2022. And as we navigate another unique holiday season together, I want to invite you all to take an opportunity to slow down and, in the true holiday spirit, celebrate and make beautiful and joyful memories with families and friends. But I also want to acknowledge that it can also be a time that some of us might feel a little bit of struggle, a little bit of loneliness, overwhelm, heightened expectations, maybe even disagreements, and even stress in relationships. Now, I thought this ninth episode should be dedicated for us to evaluate how we interact with this world, with others, and if we are builders or destroyers of relationships around us. Now, to inspire and contribute to this conversation, I have a very special and empowered guest today. He's a business and organizational development expert at the TAG team, which is in conjunction with the Abraham Group and life-altering events that assists emerging entrepreneurs. He mentors at the University of California Entrepreneurship Academy, at the Veterans Treatment Court. He's a well-sought-after keynote speaker, a twice-over best-selling author, radio and Roku TV host of life-altering events, and also a featured contributor at Biz Catalyst 360 Degrees. Now, that's an extremely accomplished resume, and I am so happy that I, share a very deep, respectful space with him. Please join me to welcome our guest speaker today, all the way from California, Frank Zaccari. Frank, what an honor to have you in the first episode of 2022. Welcome.
Welcome. I thank you. Thank you. I'm completely honored to start the new year with you. I have such tremendous respect for what you do, and I'm just really honored that you asked me to be on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Frank, for coming on. And I absolutely think you're the most amazing, appropriate guest speaker to kick off 2022. Now, Frank, as an established author, you have had many family collaborations with your brothers, Anthony and Stephen Zaccari. Is that right?
Yes. We did 5 books. Before we knew what we were doing. We were just writing books.
Right. So I was very fascinated with that particular when the wife cheats, and we shall take up that conversation another time on how that came around. But you also did Inside the Spaghetti Bowl in 5 Years to Live, the Storm Seeds, and really by doing so, Frank, what comes out to me is that you have proven how friendship or kinship is the basis of joyful and sustainable relationships, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
I'm sure you had a fantastic time doing it. But today, Frank, I want to talk about your best-selling book that's recently out, and then we'll go to another of your bestsellers. But you've done business and personal secrets for avoiding relationship landmines. And now that sounds so explosive, and the curious kitty in me is out. So tell me a little bit more about this title. What are these landmines that you talk about? What do they look like? And really, are they so explosive? Please tell me more about it.
They are extremely explosive. How this all came about is we decided to do a 3-book series. One was Business Secrets for Walking on Water, which focused more on business. And then we got a lot of feedback saying, well, that helps us, but we have a hard time in our personal relationships because you cannot separate
Yes.
completely your personal life from your professional life, as you and I have talked about
Yes.
multiple times, right? So and I really did try to separate them, and I failed miserably. And there are landmines everywhere. And give you some examples are when you follow a pattern, a toxic pattern, you keep making the same mistakes over and over again. That's a massive landmine. And a lot of us just say, well, that's just what I am or who I am. Or that's just the way it is. And we don't take the time to step back and realize, why do I keep doing this? What is the pattern that I'm falling into? Sometimes it's unconscious bias that we've learned throughout our life. Sometimes it's just the neural pathways in our brain that have been conditioned through our environment and how we were brought up and things we've experienced. And that's just a huge, huge landmine. Let me expand on that a little bit. When I was going through counseling, when I decided I have to change something, one of the counselors told me, Frank, you have what's called the white knight syndrome. And I said, okay, what's that? And they said, well, the white knight syndrome is you are attracted to the same type of individual, someone who is needy or someone who is having an issue or a problem. And then your role is to step in and see if you can uplift their life. And it's toxic for you because at some point you outgrow each other. And then I said, really? She said, yes. Well, you're the oldest of 5 children. I'm my youngest, but the youngest of the 5 was 8 years younger than I was. He said, you had to be the caretaker. You had to be the one to protect her. And so that is probably what formulated that mindset of yours. Now, changing that mindset is not the most easy thing in the world. So when we put this book together, we were saying, well, what are a lot of the other landmines or things that are going to come up that you just need to be aware of? Just understand it's going to happen. Realize what's going on. As you say, breathe, take a deep breath, step back, and then determine, why is it happening? And then how can I move forward in a positive manner? That's how the book came about.
That's so awesome. And what kind of age gap were you looking at, Frank, when you talk about, 5 of you? What were the age gaps?
Well, the age gaps, when we started, it was more people in the professional world, maybe in their 30s and above. Because when you're younger, you're still developing. Now, if you can learn how to avoid that when you're younger, your life will be a whole lot better. But what we found was particularly people who've had some success. So they've had some success professionally and their life is going well. And they're saying, I got this. I know what I'm doing, right? And then job creep takes over when you're working for somebody, right? And it starts off small. It's a project that's got a short timeline, and then it becomes something else. Then it becomes something else, and all of a sudden you're spending 14 to 16 hours working, and an hour commuting, and then you get home and you're not present. You're exhausted from the work, and or your mind is still on the project that you're working with. Okay, so not being present is an enormous landmine. And it's telling your spouse, your children, your friends, you don't really matter that much. What's important is what I'm doing over here professionally. Now, you don't say those words, and you obviously don't mean that, but that's the message that you're sending, and that's the landmine that's out there. And we have to be aware that we have to try and find some type of balance. One of the things we talk about a lot is make time. And I hear so many times, Minnku, people say, well, when I have time, I'll do that. Or when there's more time. There's never going to be more time. There's 24 hours in a day. That's not going to change. You have to make the time for what's important. And then the message comes back. Now, when you make time, you can start making memories. And you make memories with your families, you make memories with your friends. And then you have something very positive in life. Because when I see my children now, because I was a single parent, and I see my children in Phoenix, and they talk about the time we went to Rome together, or the time we spent 2 or 3 days in Disneyland, or the time we spent a week at the ocean. They don't talk about, Dad, when you were in Brazil for a month and you put that massive project together down there, that was just really exciting. They don't care.
Yeah.
What they care about is, what did you do with them, and how caring were you with them?
Yes, it's absolutely, Frank, beautifully captured, because it's the connect, it's the communication, right? And we know that relationships are really about emotions. They're about language of communications, if I can put it like that. It's about the awareness of self, others. And I find, even though you might be aware of all of that, we still get into explosive conflicts. Now, I know that you have done your research and that's how the book came. So, Frank, what can you share with the audience today? What conflict resolution strategy would you suggest to our audience? Why do we
The
get into
biggest
these?
one,
Yeah.
the biggest one that I find over and over again is listening, deep listening. And as you just said, listen to connect. Don't listen to, okay, what am I going to say? What's my response going to be? Listen to connect, listen to understand. Because you said right now, but emotions override logic.
Right.
And logic and reason is never going to win in a discussion regarding emotions. Dale Carnegie even wrote that when dealing with people, remember, you are dealing with creatures of emotion, not creatures of logic, right? So people aren't going to care what you know or how smart you are until they know that you care. Those are the big things. And you're going to have to listen to understand. And that, to me, is the single greatest way to avoid many of these landmines, because so much of it is a misunderstanding, or I thought you said this, or my head wasn't completely in this conversation and you said this and that triggered something else. And then there's this knee-jerk reaction that many of us have, particularly as we're younger and coming up.
Yeah.
And a knee-jerk reaction is usually not the best choice of action.
Yes, so true. And, Frank, here, while you were saying it, it comes out so strongly that you don't need to hear, you need to listen, really listen.
Yes.
And I find in my line of coaching clients, when I get a client where we're dealing with what I call escalated conflicts, it's explosive. It goes into the realm of what you're writing into. I find expression, and when you express sentiments, that really helps, rather than jumping to your spouse on their head and saying, you never spend any time with me and all you do is sit there and stare at your stupid computer. I find it really helps to say, oh, I feel sad, I feel angry. The I feel is so beautiful. So if you said, I feel lonely when you come home and go to the computer, that really helps. What you said,
It does. It's absolutely the case.
Empathetic response. I love that. I relate to that.
It absolutely is the case. The men, particularly men in the United States, have a great deal of trouble expressing emotion and feeling.
Right.
And one of the chapters, I think, in the book is we talk about toxic masculinity. Okay.
Whoa,
now, toxic masculinity is simply the culturalization of men and boys since the caveman days. And the whole model was you had to be strong, you had to be tough. Now, when we were fighting saber-toothed tigers, that was probably a really good process. But I haven't seen a saber-toothed tiger in like 300 or 400 years, so maybe that's not the best way to do it anymore. Yet that still seems to be the model for raising boys. Yes. You have to be strong, don't cry, no emotion, except anger.
Absolutely. And there's recently in India, there's actually a beautiful advertisement where, the mother's saying to the son, but boys don't cry. And then they work through that advertisement where the guy is sitting and actually crying and embracing his vulnerability. And I think that was such a strong message in India, where also, in the Far East, men tend to be so macho. I think the shift has to happen where you embrace your yin and yang, right? You the feminine and masculinity as a total merger, because even women, I find, Frank, I don't know what you think about it, but when they're trying to break the glass ceiling, they have to kind of portray a very masculine energy. Do you find that?
Absolutely. I absolutely find that. And women, because they've been hitting their head against that ceiling for so long,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much frustration and anger that comes in. Now, the ones who do get past it, but they don't lose their feminine side.
Right.
They still maintain the femininity, but they have the brains and they have the strength and they have the savvy to move forward. And those people really impress me because they have learned how to master the emotion and the listening and the inclusion, even though I might be an outsider. And I did turnarounds of failing companies. We call them relaunching now because turnaround offends people. But I did that for 20 plus years. And you're the new person coming in. And first off, you have to have respect for everybody who's there. You have to then listen to what they have to say. And then you have to build trust because you have respect for them. You can't just come in and say, trust me. Anybody who walks in the room and says, trust me, you can't trust them.
You work your way towards your actions, how you embrace it. And I think, Frank, also the women, I think they go through this phase of not embracing their femininity and sensuality, which is a real pity because you're dimming your shine just to fit in. And on that note, I just want to take our audience to your other book, where you've talked about business secrets of walking on water from that aspect where, because we all are spending what, 1/3 of our lives at work. And
easily.
yeah, and you said so beautifully, it's inseparable. You said this earlier. Now, something interesting caught my eyes, and you challenged team leaders in top management with the sentence you said, are you willing to admit you don't know what you don't know? So are you suggesting to own the ignorance first and then find solutions? And what is the success formula that you talk about?
The idea behind it was know your limitations. No one is good at everything. You cannot be an expert in every potential area. And what happens with many business owners at every level is they believe that they're the smartest person in the room and they believe they know how to do it and what they want done, particularly if you are the founder, right? Particularly if you're the founder. So what we've discovered is you aren't good at everything. And what you don't know is what takes out in most organizations. It's not what you know. It's that you don't know, what you didn't expect, what you weren't planning for. That's what causes the problems. The other part of that equation, Minnku, is people tend to surround themselves with clones. So these are people that are just like you. They think like you. They look like you. They talk like you. So when something comes up and you don't know where to go with this, they certainly don't know where to go with this because you're all living in the same little cocoon. So reach out and connect with people like you, connect with people who have been where you are trying to get to. That's what matters, because now when something comes up, they've seen it. And I get so much pushback on this, and they'll say, well, I want to hire these people. I said, well, you don't have to hire them. You bring them in as advisor consultant. They come in, they help with a certain area, and they can go away. But if they need to come back, you're not re-educating them again because they already know what's going on. So the people you initially surround yourself with, for the most part, you ran a company, your first set of employees very rarely stay with you very long.
Oh, that is fabulous. And really, that's, I think, the magic, the key that we're looking at, because, the team, when you bring these are like puzzle pieces, aren't they? And all you have to do is put it right to get the correct picture, and then emerges this beautiful growth in an organization. Frank, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for capturing the personal side of it and the explosive landmines. I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways for our audience today. I love how you said that, trust, respect, self-awareness. You talked about inclusion. You talked about open communication. That was a lot of takeaway for our audience. Thank you so much. All right. So, Frank, it's time to lighten the mood. Thank you so much for that amazing, valuable information for our audience. So, the rapid fire, I have no idea if you've done this before, Frank, but it's just one word or one answer, spontaneously and authentic. So, have fun and
Okay.
be authentic and whatever comes to your mind and whatever the universe needs to hear. Uh, so, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay, the first question going out for you today. One thing that gives you most joy.
Time with my family, particularly now with my grandchildren. That's the by far the most joy.
That's amazing. What is your go-to pastime?
My go-to pastime is walking. We live in San Diego, walking in the hills where I live, and then seeing the ocean. And that's my area of peace. That's my meditative state, and that's my favorite thing to do.
That sounds amazing to have the hills and the wall and the beach. That's so beautiful. What is the one piece of advice you would give a newborn child, Frank?
Enjoy the journey.
Don't rush.
Don't rush. Live your life,
Mhm.
not what other people want you to be.
Don't subscribe to what they try to make you be. That's so beautiful. Have you been the kind of friend you would want as one, Frank?
I think I'm becoming one. I think early in life, I probably was not. I
Mhm.
was more focused on career and success in my mind at that time. And that has changed radically since I got divorced
Mhm.
to you have to be there. And now I believe that I'm the type of individual that will be there for my friends when they at their time of need, or even just to celebrate with them, just to say, hey, I'm so happy for you.
Oh, Frank, you come out as so empathetic and you are that. You are it. I mean, really, I think you're there. It's beautiful. One thing you are avoiding in life right now.
Okay.
I got you
That's a
there.
great question.
I got you there.
Yeah, you did. I've never
Uh-huh,
heard that one before. One thing that I am
uh-huh.
avoiding right now is, oh my goodness. Um, uh, that's a really good one. I tend to avoid going to doctors because
Oh,
I have to go one today, but I tend to avoid them. It's this old Italian thing that my father and grandfather and great grandfather says every time you go to a doctor, they find something wrong. That's
that's
whether it's true or not, but there was that mindset. And I
mhm.
can recall my grandfather going to a doctor and coming back, and then he said he had like prostate cancer or whatever it was, and he's telling my grandmother, see, it's
You
your
went.
fault. You told me to see the doctor. I was fine yesterday.
Oh,
Today I go see the doctor, and now he finds this problem.
oh, look at that. And we're talking about childhood conditioning, and that's really what we pick up on, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the fears. So, the next one, what risk would you take if you knew you could not fail, Frank? That's a biggie.
The risk I would take if I could not fail. I think we're doing it right now.
Mhm,
We're in the
mhm.
process of launching a series of wellness centers to deal with uh, combining Western medicine and Eastern medicine. The things like Reiki and tapping and meditation and stuff that you do,
Yeah.
along with the traditional Western medicine.
Mhm.
That's one of the steps that we're taking. And the second one is a brain entrainment organization we just took over, to where they put the headphones on and you have the sounds and the vibrations and the words to help change the neural pathways. That's a massive risk. We're jumping off the cliff with it. We're going to do it. I don't believe, I'm confident we will do it. But that's the risk that I'm taking at the moment.
I am so glad I asked you that question because I did want to bring it up earlier. So just see how the universe works, because
Yes.
that question led us to that very crucial, monumental information that I wanted to share with our audience. So thank you for linking it back to that one. So the last sentence for you, if you could complete this, Frank, a successful relationship is what for you?
Successful relationship is one filled with love, trust, and respect.
Voila, that's it. You are at the end of that round. That wasn't so bad, Frank. How was that for
No,
you?
that was really good. That was really good. The
Yeah.
avoiding one was pretty good. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I just think it just brings out such raw emotions and it spontaneously. I've had speakers who are actually have written to me later and said, "Oh, Minnku, that question, we actually went back and explored things about ourselves that we didn't realize this is how we felt about things." So thank you, Frank. Before we finish this session, which is amazing, where can people find you to access your books and your corporate trainings?
You can find me at my website, which is just my name, frankzaccari.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm part of Be Connected. My email, I'm easy to find. If you want to find me, I'm very easy to find through the social media links. I get more people through LinkedIn. Currently, that's how I met you. It was through
Yes.
the LinkedIn with Biz Catalyst.
Mhm.
Also through Biz Catalyst
Right.
is another way to reach me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Frank, for bringing that amazing amount of information and takeaways for a very global audience. Now, as always, I end with a light quote or a wisdom note. And today I came across Henry Youngman, who says when people ask him the secret of his long marriage, he said, "We take time to go to a restaurant 2 times a week, a little candlelight dinner, soft music and dancing. She goes Tuesdays and I go Fridays." So I think sometimes a little bit of space for all the audience who want to do it differently. Frank, join me in wishing our audience blossoming relationships and goodbye.
Absolutely. And all the best. I hope that everyone 2022 is the best year of your life.
Thank you for those wishes. And now all these themes taken for these talk shows are from the nuances of the 4-week self-mastery programs that are run on my website, thecircleofjoy.com. Thank you once again, Frank, and bye-bye to everyone out there listening. And we will see you all again on the 15th of January with yet another episode. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.